Hey guys, I'm just looking more into the sexual assault kit initiative because I feel like there is some information that might help explain what was going on in the Tara Baker case. Because, in my opinion, it seems very sketchy that the DNA in 2024 hadn't been found before. So the 2016 Georgia Code, this is something that came in midway through 2016. And it talks about how all law enforcement agencies need to look at any sexual assault kits that haven't been processed. And it was about any that existed prior to 2015 were to be processed. So it had to happen, right? And they also made a rule about reporting of this. So in accordance with that rule, they had to do reports about the sexual assault kits and how many they had managed to test and how many were remaining and all of that. And the one from 2019, I can find that. Here it is. This is the one from 2019 from the GBI, November 27. It says, so this is the kits that are prior to 2015. And the ones that they found that were just like at hospitals that people hadn't done anything with them. They were just sat there. So this report tells us that they have finished testing on all of the kids in 2019. So that's pretty good. And I thought, well, that's good to know. I wonder what technology they used to test the kids. So I found a national best practice. 32. I'll come back to that. This National Best Practices for Sexual Assault Kits, a multidisciplinary approach, and this is by the US Department of Justice. So this is talking about what is best practice for testing of sexual assault kits. And what this is what I found interesting because, you know, in the Tara Baker case, there was a lot of talk about timeframes that DNA, will last in certain areas. So this has the recommended timeframes for evidence collection. So up to 5 days here. This one is up to 3 days. And then this one is up to 24 hours. So going by that would put Chris Melton in a little bit of hot water, I would think. So, and that's all based on references, which Cruz actually did talk about these references during the trial, and that is, scientific literature, which is used to form what is best practice, really, and that's through proper scientific research, review of all of the literature, and you can't just make shit up and present it in court. You have to have the evidence to back it up, the scientific evidence. So that's what that's talking about. But anyway, all the types of DNA testing are in here, and I think this is from 2015, maybe. Hang on. What year is this? I don't know why I thought 2015, but that's what I thought. And they're talking about, oh no, a draft of this document was also posted in August 2016. Yeah. So anyway. Oh, look. There's our friend Jennifer Coursey. She was a witness. Oh, that's nice. She looked so confused during her testimony. I want to go over that again, actually, because there was something funky going on there, I think. And she just was like, oh, I'll just go along with this. Anyway, so this article from 2017 talks about GBI making progress on a massive backlog of rape kits and has already identified 88 suspects in those cases. So that started in 2016, in the later half of 2016, and by July 2017, they've already identified 88 suspects. And this is from pre-2015. The GBI started processing them last summer. Since then, they've tested 979 kits. And from those, they got 88 hits on a national DNA database. So it doesn't take that long. And I don't see why they wouldn't have wanted to do the Tara Baker case. And I actually found something else about Athens being very progressive in this area. And I think it might have been in one of my other videos, but let me just find that. Here it is. So this is from May 2016. The Athens Clark County Police Department has worked through its entire backlog of rape kits, it said today. So this is even before the GBI as a whole had cleared all of the kits in 2019. So in response to reports of thousands of unprocessed rape kits in Georgia, the state legislature passed a law earlier this year mandating, oh, maybe it was early. Anyway, at that time, it was reported that ACCPD had 159 untested kits dating back to 1993. Well, it was actually 177. So efforts to identify those kits began in mid-2015, and they sent them to GBI for testing. So yeah. Well done, Athens. Who are you protecting? This is just another press release from 2017 talking about the funding that they got to do all of this extra testing. So this was the National Sexual Assault Kit Initiative, and they got $3 million in 2017 to do that. And this website is the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative, established 2015, and the Georgia Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, they're the ones that got all that money to do all this testing. And there is quite a lot of articles here about all of the cases that have been solved as a result of this initiative and the funding. So this here, you can see this guy was found guilty from crimes from 1986. There's more. Serial rapist caught after more than 20 years. That's in 2023. Georgia uses DNA sample and genealogy to solve 1999 rapes. And I wonder why they didn't do that for Tara's case or Jenny Stone's case. Why do you think that they might not have done the genetic genealogy for that? Yeah, so processing DNA from rape kits, a game changer. There's been a few people who, man sentenced to life in prison after DNA connects him to cold case rapes in Atlanta. So this is all, you know, early. Georgia Bureau of Investigation has tested 3,000 kits, which have yielded evidence that linked 321 cases to suspects of other crimes. Here we go. This is 2018. So I wanted to find out what was the testing that they did as standard for this sexual assault initiative, and that's when I found that the best practices here, and that's where it does talk about, actually I think they had a nice little diagram in here. Let's see if we can find it. So here is a nice little diagram showing the history of DNA analysis as forensic evidence. So first started in 83. So we go through the 80s, 90s. 1998, FBI establishes the National DNA Index System. 1999, FBI begins using STR DNA typing. 2001, why STR testing in casework begins in the US. And you can see here in 2013, they've looked over the protocols and things again, and again in 2016, and then this document. So I got cut off before because my son came into the room. So that part of the video just stops abruptly. But I wanted to just go through the timeline because I just think it's important to go over the multiple opportunities that the evidence would have been looked at in the Tara Baker case. So it was either looked at and they couldn't find anything, or it was looked at and they found something that they were trying to hide, so they didn't go further with it, or they were trying to hide something, so they never tested it. So those are my the three options, I guess, as to why it took so long, and none of them look that good for law enforcement. But anyway, so advancements in DNA technology, new people going over the case multiple times. You'd think they would have figured it out before 2024. Anyway, that's all. Bye.